before President Donald Trump's deadline of 48 hours expires. Now what is being said? 5:15 in the morning is when Trump had issued a warning to Iran, 48-hour deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, after which he says that US would obliterate Iranian power plants. Iran is using the Strait of Hormuz as a pressure point and has blocked the key waterway of one of the world's busiest oil shipping channels. And the blockade and the attacks on ships in the strait has now seen oil prices soar over the recent weeks, leaving the United States in a helpless position. Trump in the last few days had also pleaded to his allies to come help him with the safe passage of the vessels carrying oil, but was ignored by them. Then he's now given a final warning to Iran to clear the way, or else he will hit the power plants, starting with the biggest one first. Iran has now less than 24 hours to go. The next hours, however, will be extremely crucial, and I'll be looking at the biggest escalation yet, because Iran doesn't seem to be backing down either. It is matching that threat word for word and says that if you hit our energy network, then we will come for you. And this is now coming in because for the entire region, Iran has now stated that if the US carries out its threats against Iranian power plants, then the following actions will be taken. One, the Strait of Hormuz will be completely closed. Second, all of the power plants and energy infrastructure of Israel will be targeted. And number three, all of the simpler companies in the region that have American shareholders will also be completely destroyed, saying that critical infrastructure in the Middle East will also be targeted if Trump attacks their power plants. Now, this is coming across as a direct threat, a tit for tat that has now been responded on part of Iran, because this has now been said. Trump's Hormuz threat, where even when it comes to one of the largest power plants that we are looking at, the thermal power plant, Iran's power grid that seems to be on radar, and these are the possible targets that what we are looking at in the coming 24 hours or even less than that, what the next move the United States could be. So we're looking at other, as far as energy and critical infrastructure of Iran is concerned, because Iran has now issued a counter threat saying that we will start the Strait of Hormuz if US strikes. And when it comes to the potential targets of energy infrastructure in the Gulf, well, that, according to Iran, becomes legitimate targets, because President Trump has made it clear that if Iran does not comply, then the first strikes will be hitting its biggest power plants. And this threat now puts entire energy backbone of Iran in the line of fire. Now, this has been, when it comes to the Damawad, when we were also showing you the power plant in Tehran, then there is the hydro giants of Khuzestan, and also now been set to the strategic Bushehr nuclear site, where Iran's only functional nuclear power plant that what we are looking at. Now, of course, this is going to set, when it comes to markets in a toil, and this seems to be what is now being witnessed today as well. Ashisha is connected with us. Ashisha, good morning. Asian markets, lowest stocks that is now been reported, the markets blood boil that is again expected as far as to have that kind of effect on the Indian markets as well.
Well, yes, everything on the geopolitical front continues to weigh heavy on global equity markets. The India markets, of course, are set to open in just a few minutes from now, but the GIFT Nifty is suggesting a muted start for Indian equity markets in line with what Asian markets are doing this morning. But since we are talking about oil, let's also talk about what's happening on the commodity market front, and we have seen some bit of escalation when it comes to oil prices. In fact, Brent crude is now trading at $112 per barrel. That's an uptick of more than 0.5% in today's trading session. And oil prices have been gaining for the 5th or 6th consecutive trading session. That's the kind of move that we are seeing in oil prices over the last few trading sessions, and that continues today as well. So yes, Indian equity markets are expected to see a muted start with some pressure that is building on to the oil market as well.
Right, but Ashisha, when we speak of the markets there in particular, as far as oil is also concerned, it seems to be now hitting as far as the roof of around $114 per barrel. How are we looking at that situation? Because there has been a lot of volatility on the oil front that we have looked upon, since the beginning of the war. Even it, went on to touch nearly $119 per barrel one day.
Well, yes, we have seen a lot of volatility of late when it comes to oil prices. And as you rightly mentioned, at one point in time after the Strait of Hormuz was effectively blocked, oil prices did shoot up to $119.5 per barrel. Since then, they corrected a tad bit after that to come below $100 per barrel. But over the last few days, as the escalation in West Asia continues, in fact, as it is accelerating as we speak, we have seen Brent prices hit again at that $110, $112 per barrel, and we are seeing approaching that $119 per barrel once again. So yes, we have seen quite a bit of escalation, and looks like till there is any kind of certainty on where this is headed and till when the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, perhaps we could see an escalation in oil prices going forward as well.
I think we're just going to put that explainer on our screens, exactly what was on the day just before the war started as far as the Brent crude prices are concerned. It was around what we're looking at $72.97 per barrel. And currently, when we are looking at the price there, you can see the steep hike of $114 per barrel. And this is as far as what is the report suggesting is on the 23rd of March. Well, that seems to be the progress that has now been coming in. Rather, when it comes to the steep hike and how much impact that India now also is looking at currently, because this seems to be the impact that the entire world now seems to be facing. And when it comes to such positions that has now been taken, because the Indian stock market as well, Ashesha, on Friday seems to have ended on a higher note. But do you believe that this, short covering rally after the previous session's sharp decline, when it comes to the recovery, that may have gone to a waste? All right. Well, we'll just open the markets in some time, so we'll see exactly how the Indian stock markets react. But however, what we are looking at, that Sensex and Nifty is likely to open in the red amid weak global cues that has now been witnessed, of course, as the markets that play mainly on sentiments and also statements that have come in from the world leaders. Let's, in the meantime, also take a look when it comes to these Brent crude prices, and you can see right from the 12th of March to the 13th of March to one day, even when it comes to per barrel, that what we are looking at, 23rd of March being today, $114 per barrel seems to be the count that what we are looking at as far as the prices is concerned. And what has now been said with the action now that is set to begin today on Monday morning, because Japan's Nikkei and South Korea's Kospi, that seems to be trading well below. And as far as the Nifty 50 and Sensex are expected to open in the negative note amid weak global cues. And it seems that these Asian shares that have also seen a drop, while Japan's Nikkei 225 fell nearly 5%, while we are looking at topics now nearly dropping to 4.4%. This has been the similar sentiment that has also been witnessed in South Korea and also in Australia's S&P and ASX 200 that seems to have declined, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng index has also fell nearly by 2%. Sharat Kohli, good morning. How are we looking at as far as the reaction coming from the Indian market set to open very soon? Do we believe that it will open in the red once again?
Good morning, Amrita, to you and Times Now viewers. Yes, absolutely. It's going to open in the red because the news from the war front is not very encouraging. More threats on the energy infrastructure, more threats on the nuclear sites. I think that is threatening. And also the 48-hour ultimatum given by President Trump on Strait of Hormuz. It is being anticipated that this will probably aggravate the crude, because Iran is hell-bent. We are not going to allow anyone to go except for the enemies. Others can go, but, I don't know who others it means. But basically, Strait of Hormuz, it has threatened, will completely close out if there is any attack. So I think this is further aggravating the situation as far as crude oil is concerned. The more crude oil or energy comes under pressure, the more markets are going to react, because we're already witnessing inflation across the world now. Energy prices have gone up in our neighborhood, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. Look at the fuel prices. I mean, India is just about maybe time, where we will have to also take a call on increasing petrol, diesel prices. Yes, so Asian markets are suffering. I think there only an end of war or some kind of solution can probably take care of the markets. Otherwise, the markets will continue to react to this, and there seems to be no end, and the market is likely to open below 23,000 as far as Nifty is concerned, which means another few lakh crores of market capitalization is going to evaporate. The advice to investors is that they can buy at these lower levels, bargain, hunt, and keep it for long-term. Traders are advised to keep away.
Well, we'll see, because it's minutes from now that we are looking at this Monday morning. The market's set to open there, but this seems to be the global impact that has now been witnessed. We'll see exactly how the Indian markets also react. Mr. Kohli, appreciate you joining us here on the broadcast. Let's get you another round of breaking update. What we are looking at. The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has now said that the government of Spain is demanding the opening of the Strait of Hormuz and the preservation